Hey, subscribers, I want to thank you for downloading this recent podcast episode from Podcast Seeds Get Degrees. Sit back and relax. We got a big banger of a guest here from all the way from British Columbia. Gina Talarico is going to join our podcast and teach all you guys how to maximize social media and how to grow your businesses to where you can leave your corporate job. Yeah, I did say that. She's doing this full time, guys, and she's having a blast living her life of freedom that she has chosen. So enjoy this. This is a special episode. And once again, I appreciate you guys. Go visit all the 4 media outlets and give us a rating and tell us how we're doing. Deuces. Welcome to the pod. Sit back, relax. We got G on the other line.
Hey.
What's up?
Oh, what is up? It is 8:20 in the morning, and I went to sleep at about 4 a.m. So definitely have my coffee. Cheers. So you've got yours as well.
You guys that don't follow her on Instagram, she had a fun night last night.
Oh, yeah. You know what? Nobody ever dies remembering all the nights they got plenty of sleep. So, you just live life that way, right?
Yeah, and for me, honestly, the more further into podcasting and stuff, the more workload you get dumped. And this ain't even a complaining thing. It's actually a fun thing when you enjoy what you do. It's like,
completely.
All of a sudden, people are like, dude, do you get like 8 hours worth of sleep? I'm like, no, I get like 5.5, 6.5. Like, what do you do after work? Edit pods till like 2 in the morning. And they're like, you're nuts. I'm like, thank you. I appreciate it.
Totally. Yeah, no, I think that's a huge compliment. Like, I moved a year ago and I was like, oh, I should probably like buy a TV. Like, maybe I should. I haven't even bought one. I do not use it. I would not use it. Like, I don't have any use for it. I work and play, spend some time outside.
Just to warn you guys, we're all workaholics, so it's
100%.
We work and play, but obviously my play is pretty close to your play because obviously I help out at my buddy's farm and rip some shit up in the woods, and you're on the ranch all the time.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so my cousin's ranch is like about an hour and a half from my house. So like finish up work on a Friday and just head out there and stay till Monday, then come on back. It's great.
So who's got the Dirty Max? Is that your truck or is that theirs?
No, that's theirs, yeah.
I'm sitting there looking, I'm like, oh, freaking girl knows how to drive a 1-ton.
Yeah, I mean, I can drive it, but yeah, no, I definitely do not drive a truck. So I live in a city of about 90,000 people, so there's probably more trucks on the road than there are cars, but I prefer driving a car.
And since I get you're from BC, but please tell everyone how close to Vancouver you are, or British Columbia, and obviously it's the mountain country, so.
Yeah, you see lots of that on my Instagram. It's like my favorite thing about the house that I live in is the view for sure. No, so I'm about 4 hours away I'm in Kamloops, BC, so I'm about 4 hours away from Vancouver.
Skiing country?
Yeah, so there's a few hills. They're about 40 minutes to an hour away, but Sun Peaks is one of the like world-renowned ones that's pretty close here. So it's about, just under an hour out of Kamloops. And so that's huge attraction for everybody in this area because you can live here and work up there if you really wanted to, or spend all your weekends up there too.
And is it kind of like Colorado? I just came back from Colorado, so like I visited Breckenridge and all them about, I would say, a month ago, give or take, but that stretch from Denver to Breckenridge typically is about an hour and a half, but when it comes to Friday during skiing season, it takes like 4.5 hours. And I was going to ask, I'm like, is it like the same way for you, where everyone and their brother fucking hits the highways? And
oh yeah, and there's a lot of tourism that goes up there too. So it totally depends on, I mean, you probably don't want to go up there like a Friday after work. I mean, you can, but like you said, depending on weather, it's a really, really windy road as well. So there's slides a lot of the time too. And then just traffic for sure. Nothing crazy like that, but enough that'll take you a little longer.
You guys short order too, so it's like fresh plow.
Yeah.
I never understood it. So like for us, it's just like, hey, we're hitting the hills, we're gonna go skiing. And then my cousin, obviously we're from here, but he moved out there and he's like, yeah, he was like, hey, cuz, come on here and hit the fresh pow. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about, fresh pow? He's like, powder, bro. I'm like,
Yeah.
God, you're such a Cali boy now.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. No, I don't do much. I mean, I kind of hermit in the winter. I don't do very much in the winter. I don't ski or snowboard, but I mean, they're so, I don't know, what's it called? World renowned, I guess, ski hill for a reason. So they've got huge crew and lots of good snow. Pretty much everybody I know at least has tried in at one point in their life, whether they still do or not. But we're pretty lucky to have it so close. It's definitely easy to take advantage of or to take it for granted.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so obviously, like you said, you don't go up there much, but explain to people, my listeners, you were in the corporate life and you
Yep.
left, right?
Hmm.
Explain to people what you do now.
Yeah, so I'm still a little bit in corporate, so I'll explain a little bit more of what I do. So I was a university student after I graduated. I think I waited 2 years. Then I went back to university. I actually was going into a chemistry degree. It's just something that I genuinely liked from high school. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I had already taken 2 years off, and I felt like I was, sort of running out of time and like hurry up and do something with your life sort of vibe. So so I went back to school, realized in my first year, like, what the heck am I going to do for the rest of my life with a chemistry degree? So I switched to business. My first year of business, I challenged I want to say 50% of my midterms, and I passed them like within the first 2 weeks. So yeah, I dropped out after that. Thinking like, you know what, maybe I'll go back eventually, but I don't want to be paying thousands of dollars at the moment for things that, maybe not to be cocky, but that I didn't feel like I needed. And so I started in banking. So I was a teller for 8 months and I was 20 at the time. So after 8 months, they promoted me to an advisor. So 20-year-olds giving people mortgages and investing their money for them. Learned pretty quickly to not act my age, that's for sure. So yeah. So I did that. And then I was in that role for about 2 years. And it just completely destroyed my soul. It was awful. It was honestly like, banking is a very, very good career. I would not suggest anybody go into retail banking. It was awful. It was awful. You're totally a number. I'm sure I was with one financial institution. There's 5 in Canada, so I'm assuming that there's, it'd be the same at all of the institutions. They're all pretty much run the same way. So I don't know. I thought, there's got to be more for me, and there's no way that this is what I'm doing forever. So I started seeking out promotions. So I wanted to stay in banking. I actually genuinely liked it. And I actually was turned down for a promotion. So my boss told me I had to spend 4 years in the same role. And I just told her, like, absolutely not. Like, I'm not waiting for 4 more years. That's like, no chance. I was 22 at the time. And so then I started looking at other financial institutions. So I got a couple of interviews. I went through this full interview process. I think it was like 6 interviews or something like that. It might have been 4. I think I'm exaggerating. Welcome to my life, but it felt like 6. It was a long interview process. And at the very end, they didn't hire me because the boss said that I was too ambitious. I was like, cool. Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for that. So I let it get to me for the first little while. I definitely took it seriously, and I thought, like, I let them use one of my strengths against me, thinking that it was something I've always thought of that as a strength for myself. So, and I am very ambitious. I was pretty aggressive with the way that my career went right at the beginning there, right? So, so then, I went home, and I remember, I don't think I've ever been so mad in my whole life. And I just had a really, really bad day at the bank. I had been moping around for 2 months, and then I just drew my first business plan, and the next day I started. So right away I went and I invested in a bit of a coach, somebody to help me with the online industry, because it's definitely a lot different than I thought it was going to be. And business, clearly I don't have a business degree. So there are certain things that I think are valuable in a business degree that I didn't have. So hiring somebody to teach me those basics and then kind of like learning on the go, it definitely helped. So I'm a millennial. I grew up with the phone in my hand. I thought, you know what, if businesses are not on social media, they're leaving money on the table. And the amount of people that you can reach for free just with social media who could potentially be a customer of yours, depending on your product or service, is astronomical. Even if you're tapping into 1% of whatever niche that you're in, you would be a millionaire. like it's so little, and it blows my mind how even it, like fully, like I have a fully online business. I don't have a store. I just recently started selling digital products. So it's like technically something tangible, right? Because it's a digital product. But before that, it was a service. So it was my time or consulting for social media. So yeah, my role, I started as a virtual assistant, so doing social media management for people first. So I would just take over the social media and run it for them. Then when I started getting people big results, I started into consulting. So I would teach them how to do it or train their team how to do a product launch or kind of whatever they needed on social media. And so, yeah, that's where I'm at now.
Yeah, and I actually on your account looks like we have a social media class beginning soon too.
Yeah. So I sold out, well, in 2020, I've sold out 3 times. So, I mean, that's been great, but I've also realized that there's a huge demand for, I mean, I only want to work a certain amount of hours a day. So, I mean, I have the luxury of being able to choose that. So, knowing that there's still people interested in me selling out, for one, I mean, as a business plan, I'm leaving money on the table, for one, and for two, more people need my help. So creating something, which is what I've been doing for the past 4 months, that is like a rinse and repeat process. So it's a little bit more general. Of course, working with me one-on-one, you get a more customized experience with your marketing. But it does come down to just some basics, some basic steps, some basic things that you can move forward with to getting clients, getting sales, and promoting yourself on social media. So putting all of that into a course and then being able to offer that is going to be pretty beneficial, I think. So then having, it'll be a lower ticket as well, because it's not like a one-on-one time either. So people who maybe couldn't afford it or aren't at that point in their business can invest in something a little bit smaller, which, I mean, obviously I want to help everybody, but there's not enough time in the day.
Yeah, and I'm gonna reiterate on that one. I finally found out about the social media life and social media e-commerce and all. I mean, I don't want to throw everything under that window, but just a social media based business. Found out about that like 3-4 years ago, and my mind just went because here I have a buddy of mine that lives in Florida, and he's like, hey, you want to be a test product for my class or whatever? And I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. So I jumped in, and I didn't pay attention at the time because I had certain baggage looking over my shoulder at the time. All of a sudden he sends me like a 95-page PDF. I'm like, what? He's like, dude, we have like 8 classes, sit up, jump on, and he literally step by step. So it's almost like the Russell Brunson or whatever, like funnels.
Yeah.
So he's walking through everything going, and he's like, yeah, do this. And I'm like, what? And then here he's got like a freaking full clothing line now at the Shield stores, which you guys got Shields up by you, right? Or is it like
not in Kamloops? I don't know. Maybe, probably in larger cities.
Okay,
I have
so
no idea, though.
yeah, it's like a Sportsman's Warehouse or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's like, yeah, Bucks America, boom, and I'm like, and he's like, yeah, I'm in Florida, just chilling, fishing. I'm like, what?
You win, yeah.
So it just, and especially the same thing with like the podcast world. Like I'm using, I'm borrowing some of your hashtags.
Yeah.
And
Hashtag development is huge. That's a huge part of it, especially for reaching people for free, right? If you're not promoting, especially on Instagram, right? That's the only way to reach more people. Not the only way, but a very, 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 very efficient way.
Yeah, and then I'm gonna toot for a little bit here, just because it's more of like a humbleness of how I'm gonna approach this. But people are obviously, that C letter word hit in March, so obviously I started podcasting, and everyone was like, oh, so how's it going? You got like 10 people listening or whatever. I'm like, no, I'm in like 5 countries now, and they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, like hashtag, you go out, you go on Facebook groups, everything, like 100% social media driven.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, you're fucking nuts, aren't you? I'm like, no, I'm actually enjoying this ride, and I've been nicely asked to be a coach, and never thought in my whole world I would be coaching. Never thought in my world I would be podcasting to begin with.
Right, I know.
And then secondly, coaching. Everyone's like, yeah, I want, it's like, I want to help you, or hey, join my summit or whatever as a coach. I'm like, what? It's like and I'm just this not say humble. I was cocky back in the day. So like at your age, I was very kind of, me and you are very parallel. So like,
Oh yeah, yeah.
I would tell the teacher off because I hated doing homework, and I was just that rascal kid that wanted, sitting in class going like, man, I need to run a business or something. It's just when you're a high achiever or when you have that business in your brain, it's done. Like your lights out because school sucks.
Yeah, it does. Well, I mean, like I remember, so my sister's 4 years older than me, and teachers used to be like, "Why aren't you more like your sister?" And I'd be like, "Cause I'm not," and I would like walk away. Like, well, for one, that's a stupid question, and for two, like, are you kidding me? Like, just because I'm not conforming to everything that you think that I should be doing right now.
Yeah,
I think on every single report card, it was like, Gina is really chatty. Like, she never shuts the fuck up. And they're like, she has to sit in the corner by herself. So, but I mean, honestly, like, without all of these traits that were now, well, previously, I mean, especially even just in my last 5 years of life, people have told me that they're flaws, and I've just decided that they are not. I've chosen to make them strengths because that's what I think. If I actually thought that being ambitious was a flaw, well, then I wouldn't be where I am today. There's nothing wrong with that. At the same time, like, being very picky about who you let have influence in your life is extremely important, especially when you're doing something as an entrepreneur. Like, because everybody's going to have an opinion about what you're doing. So, I mean, of course, you're going to be polite and listen. I mean, well, I guess you don't have to, but I usually do because it's most of the time somebody that you care about. But
yeah.
it's them projecting their fears on you, right? And if you can't live your life that way, or you won't have a successful business that way either.
And I'm going to go down a little meaner route here. It's going to sound mean, but you're going to totally get it because we're in the same bubble and you get it. But like the people that will dump all that horse shit on you is pretty much the same people that have like a weaker self-esteem. So they actually care what people think versus like, well, I'm at the point now, and it took me in the same response. It's like, hey, dude, you're too aggressive. Hey, man, back off. Or what was the other ones? I had guns pulled on me.
Jeez.
Man, I think I have report cards saying I was screaming in the bathroom and I wouldn't sit still. My brain was always looking outside. I mean, I could go down the same road, pretty much the same thing that you have.
Yeah.
And the bosses and all like, hey, dude, act professional. Hey, man, act your age. In my mind, I'm like, no, fuck you, man. That's my strength because it's obviously I have a comedy side and you've been on my social media at times and I have a real quirky side at times, but it's like, that's my release. So when you're in this entrepreneurial business lifestyle or social media or whatever it is we're not perfect all the time. And sometimes you just got to just let the gas out. And
oh, totally.
That's why you'll see like some stupid random shit on my profile because it's just me letting the gas out.
Do you know what? I encourage 90% of my clients to do that. Unless they're like trying to become like president or something like that, or like they're going for some public, public office or something like that. It's, it makes you way more relatable. Like, I have only been going to my cousin's ranch since, I don't know, like May-ish, since beginning of COVID. And like the amount of people that have gotten to know me just because like we're out there dicking around on the farm. And like, I mean, what you're doing, like, it's just fun. You're in your element, like you're having fun. And so you're more authentically yourself. The relationships that I've been able to cultivate over the internet, just because of that one quick switch. Like before that, I would post a lot about like running. So I was doing some training. So, I'd be running and doing whatever, but like, so like how much can you talk about running? Like it's the same.
Yeah.
But one foot in front of the other for a little bit longer than I did yesterday. Like, cool. Like you can, I mean, I'm pretty outgoing, so you can make it more interesting, but at the same time, like people aren't like looking forward to being like, oh, how long did Gina run today? Like they don't care. As for like, I had lots of people reach out, like even you knew, like, oh, you're not at the ranch this weekend, and I'm like, I know, like my heart is broken, but like people pay attention, and that has nothing to do with my business. They will pay attention to those little things that are personal, and it makes you more relatable. It makes people feel like they know you a little bit more. So then they're more likely to reach out to you or engage with your content or buy whatever you're selling. So I think that you should do more of it. And like be unapologetically yourself. Like who cares? If they don't like you, they're gonna unfollow you. They're never gonna buy from you anyway. So freaking see you later. It doesn't matter.
Well, and on the other end of it, I should just promote half my Snapchat shit because the story of why I'm more on social media and more of the podcast, and actually it went more down the personal development side. But people came up to me and said straight out, they're like, "Hey, dude, you got so much funny shit on Snapchat. Why don't you just record it, put it on a podcast?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And I think what it is like Adam Sandler, some of these comics where it's like a 5-minute burst. So like, randomly just random shit. So I look in comedy and everything. So like I'll go to the store and you'll see, just this dude. Obviously we got mask here, but like they're all wrapped up, bundled up in the mask and a little fucking Corolla, and I'm like, what? Just random. The randomness of life and how I look at certain things. I bring it out public, and people are like, "Bro, how can you?" They're like, "How do you do it?" I'm like, "How do you do what?" They're like, "You just say what's on your mind and live free and do whatever." Like I did previously. You don't even have the picture on my. Actually, I do have. You have to dig for it, but like me mooning people on top of a mountain, just stupid random shit like that. They're like, "Well," they're like, "Of course you would do it." I'm like, "Yeah, of course I'm going to do it because I'm going to live life."
Totally.
So I mean, especially in the States, and I'm sure it is up by you, but like you get people where they'll edit the pictures, make it look perfect on social media, and I'm just this dude that would put on the freaking shit kickers and go cut down trees and just like I won't post it. Yeah, it's like it's like, "Hey, Steele, I'm in 2-year-old pants getting all cut up with wood chips, and hey, welcome to my life."
It's more authentic that way. I think I think at the end of the day, what, we're all people, we're all searching for something a little bit more. And I think that just seeing those like little bits, especially when people look up to you, like 5 countries for a podcast is unreal. So congratulations, by the way.
Yeah.
And being able to do all of that organically, I think is very impressive. So you can be cocky about that. I'll let you have that one. That's pretty cool.
I don't have a toot here.
I'll give you 20 minutes and then you can stop. Yeah.
Shut up, Chad. I got shit to do at frickin' 9:00. My boyfriend's coming over. No, never mind.
So yeah, like it's I lost my train of thought, but yeah, you know what I mean? Like people they are looking for something, right? And you're being like, this is just an outlet for you. Yes, it's helping you, but at the same time, like the amount of people that you're going to be able to influence through it, like without even knowing it, is very, very cool.
I'm going to add on and say they're actually coming out of the woodwork, and it's not even like when you're in the stage, and you're probably in the same mindset too, you care non-selfish way. You care about yourself first, make sure you're taken care of, make sure you're happy.
Yeah.
But on the other end of it, people are like, "Dude, bro, how do you do it?" I think what it is, it's like an invisible bubble that people, once you're out of it, people kind of look at you, be like, "You want to grab me and pull me out too?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, go ahead. I don't care. I'll reach back." It's like, but no, just in general, it's being goofy, being relatable, just being free. And I think people don't understand how much just the word freedom.
Oh, totally. And I mean, like, it also means something different to everybody as well. Like, I mean, freedom for one person will mean something different for the other person. At the same time, it's like realizing that the way that we're taught in school, this is what you do. You go to school, get married, have babies, whatever. Cool. Like, that's super fun. And then it's not until somebody swims against that stream and just decides that, like, I'm gotta do what makes you happy. Really, at that point, like, I don't know who put that rule that this is the way that life is supposed to go. And I mean, it's comfortable. Like, that's like, they say that people with anxiety will watch the same shows over and over and over again because they know what's going to happen. They will rarely, like, especially when it's like a TV show, and that's like an investment of time if there's like 10 seasons or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But they will rarely watch something new. But then when they do, they end up really liking it. But that's not the first show that they're going to pick on Netflix when they decide to watch, right? So it's one of those things that's like you choosing your happiness and then not giving a fuck what other people think when they tell you that that's not how things are supposed to go, because they're gonna.
Yeah, and I'm gonna add in the divorce in there too.
Yeah, totally. 51%, I think it's like 52% or something like that now. It's a 2020.
Oh, geez, I don't even want to know what it is. Everyone, and I'm just laughing when you're saying that. I'm like, oh, it's like that up by you too. Yeah, and me and you can go on whole fucking podcast of going to college and listen to what teachers say and do whatever, and oh, hey, by the way, I got a girlfriend, and then oh, all my friends are getting married. When am I getting engaged? And then oh, I got engaged, and then oh, hey, when are we gonna have kids? Oh, when we buy a house? It's just like,
Yeah.
and I look at it, and all my friends that do it, they have a successful life. Like I have zero issues with that. You guys have a blast.
Totally.
I'm gonna want to have kids, but I'm 34 years old, divorced, whatever, went through the whole stats, and now I just don't give a fuck. Like, nicely saying it. It's like, I'm going to go live my life, have fun, and be what it is. But it's, yeah,
It's like
I would
very,
all go ahead.
you go for it.
I was going to say it. I think what it is when you're so used to swimming upstream
Mm-hmm.
and fighting that normalcy. I don't want to use that term, but it's just, you just become this little rascal. It's like, oh, that fucking life is boring.
Seriously. And you know what, like I love unpredictability and like surprises and like all of that stuff. So I think I come by it naturally to just like want to, like, somebody tells me not to do something and I go over and I do it. And I've been like that since I was like really, really little. Like, you know, mom says, don't touch that. And then you go over and like watch her and like touch it. But you know, it's definitely a part of who I am. At the same time, it's still a choice every single day. It would be way easier just to live life the way that it's deemed acceptable or the way that things should go, right? Yeah, I don't know, like I feel like you know what I mean by
Oh, I
that,
know.
right? Like
I totally get it.
yeah, it's, of course it would be easier. It's all planned out for you. You know exactly what is going to happen and what is or what should happen. And then it's not until you don't do something or you do something a little bit differently. Like, oh, I remember coming home and like telling my parents that I dropped out of university and I was like stressed. Like it was like, that is just not what you do, right? And like since day one, they've been over supportive of everything that I've ever wanted to do. Because I was like, hey, so this is what I've decided to do. You know, I know that there's going to be some consequences for dropping out. I'm going to have to start all over eventually, but these are my plans for moving forward. And I'm very, very thankful to have them. It's every single time I've made a crazy decision to decide to do something else, they're right there. Like, I mean, sure, they'll tell me if it's a bad idea, but maybe not. They haven't told me yet. So, but having support is another really, really big thing. It helps, obviously. It helps wean out the people that aren't supportive or are just going to contradict what you're wanting to do, right? Having a few people that are in your corner that you can really rely on.
Okay, so I went to school in mid 2000s, and social media presence was just starting to come out. So that whole industry's just kind of kickstarted at that time. So obviously I still had that perception, or a lot of people around me still had that perception of, hey, go get a college, go get a job, whatever kind of. And I think the only one that kind of went against that grain was the business owners, or vice versa, the network marketing groups.
Yeah.
So now with social media, it's, my niece is doing the same thing you're doing. So it's not what you're doing, but like that thought of, hey, I don't want to go drop a lot of money at college. Mm-hmm. And how do I approach this route or whatever it is? And I told straight up, I'm like, don't pay a monthly bill. Just go on YouTube and figure out what the hell you want to do with your life.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that like investing in yourself, and especially in your business, like when you hit a certain point, you're not going to be able to grow by yourself. Like there's going to be some uncharted territory. And I mean, okay, I guess I shouldn't say that. You could, but it's going to take you a lot longer. And when you're making enough money to be able to like afford to invest, like it's been the best decision I've ever made moving forward. Every investment I've made in my business, I've never regretted. It's been like, I mean, there's been a few opportunities that I've invested in that haven't worked out or whatever. Like I started in network marketing as well, until I realized that there was a huge disconnect between how they were training us to market on social media. And so then I completely dropped that and I was like, no, I'm running with this. This is completely different. And so now I do a lot of training with like teams from multi-level marketing and direct sales. Because at the end of the day, if you can't promote yourself on social media, you're not going to be making any sales either. And I mean, depending on the company, some companies have really good training programs and some don't, right? So if at the end of the day, if you believe in a product and you want to sell it, there comes a point where you're going to need to make some investments. And I've probably spent not quite on the amount of a degree, but pretty close. Let's say even 2 years. Like I mean, like it's not like I haven't spent the money or the money was the issue. It was that you cannot find a social media marketing course at university. There's no such thing.
No, because they're all like 65 years old and fucking have to grease their joints before they come up and teach the class.
Seriously, yeah. Or they're all
Or
like tenured and they're like getting drunk at lunch and then because they don't care, like.
you'd be like me who got drunk during class.
Yeah, right. There you go.
I just remember
Yeah,
this. I remember this plain as day, and we're just gonna add this in. This is my rebelness and build my attitude on the side of it. But
yeah.
I failed out of a few. I failed out of one class because, a few classes. We're gonna add a few. Because I chose to party too much. So ended up being I didn't know this at the time, but my future ex-brother-in-law was my mentor. So here I took a big cup like this, filled it up with whiskey at the time, a little bit of Pepsi or whatever it was at the time.
Yeah.
Walked in with the cap, and he looked at me. He was like, "Bro, you got whiskey in there?" I said, "Yeah." He's like, "Why did you show up?" I'm like, "It's 6 o'clock at night, buddy. You're my mentor. I'm learning and drinking at the same time." He's like, "What?" I'm like, hell yeah. Like, I don't need to act like a professional here, man. I'm your student.
Dude, I'm paying. Depending, I guess, if you were paying them, but.
Oh no, trust me, man. I'm paying monthly for that stuff, so it's
Totally. So I mean, yeah, I think that a certain amount of training is definitely, it's going to be beneficial either way for entrepreneurs. I mean, it doesn't matter what you're investing in, as long as it's going to further yourself or your business, it's never going to be a bad thing.
Yeah, and it's a whole different lifestyle, guys. And I'm gonna add it this way. I'm sure you can agree. It shut offs a lot differently than a typical person where they'll shut off. They'd be like, "Oh, watch TV," or whatever. It's like us shutting off. It's like we'll work 14 days straight or whatever, and then take one day and just chill with your buddies for like 5-6 hours, and then you're recouped enough to where you can run again for 14 days.
Or even that, like, I don't think I've taken a day off in 2 years. Like, but I don't want to. I wake up every single day. Like, I got 3 hours of sleep and I was just like rip roaring ready to go when I woke up this morning. Like, hell yeah, I get to go and be on a podcast today. I got client work to do. I have like mountains to climb. Like, let's go. Like, I wake up every single morning with that. And I'm so thankful. Like, I could not imagine. I remember driving home from the bank and I would drive home in complete silence, like 5 under the speed limit, because I was just so emotionally drained from doing what seemed like nothing. And then the moment that I told them that I was leaving, they had my job posted. Like, they did not care. They did not care about the work, and emotionally or physically or taxing this job was to me. Like, they didn't care.
Yeah, and that kind of, I'm in a transitional job right now. So like at the beginning, I was in insurance for when I moved back home here for like, I'm gonna say 2.5, 3 years, whatever. So total 4 years. But I would have that. I would go grind so hard at work, I would literally get pissed off and go home. And at the time I moved back to my parents just kind of get back on my feet, but like I would go and just crash against like the door at home, and they're like, why are you sitting there? And in my head would just be fucking going boom 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 boom, because you're so emotionally drained. You want to do so well on one side of it, but then on the other side you get so pissed off because you're not getting results.
Yeah.
And then obviously now I just said fuck it and joined a manufacturing plant here. And I'm like that, man. I work 8 hours there. I come home and I crash. And the reason for it, not so much that, like that's paying my bills. That's not my plan. Yeah. And I'll be 100% honest and say that's not my plan to be there in 5 years. I just want that total freedom to like what you guys have, where once you can afford that transition over, and then obviously work from the mountains if you want, work from Florida or whatever it is.
Yeah, we're kind of wherever you want to work. Yeah, totally. And yeah, it's like you said, it's freedom, right? Like, I've never been a big traveler. I'm very, very close with my family, and I will always live where like my grandmother is like a drive away. If I need her, I will go over there, and yeah, she needs her like lawn weed whacked, I'm like there. So it doesn't matter. And so that's always been very important to me. I love traveling, but it's more experiences for me, that it's been able to give me the freedom to, like, if I want to go take a nap, I'm going to go take a nap. If I want to go and hang and whatever, work in the garden with my dad, I can do that too. Like, it's the flexibility that it gives me. I work a lot more than I actually did in my corporate job, like hours wise, but I'm not burnt out. I do not want to stop. It's the best feeling in the whole world. Like I have no desire to take a day off, and I've never felt burnt out.
And you're mobile, which means you could, let's say you want to live in two places, you can live in two places and be like, everyone's like, well, why you want to live in Colorado? Well, why not?
I mean, I'm out on my cousin's ranch like 3 days out of the week, sometimes more. Like she's got my cousin, I'll just like pitch her real quick. She's a professional barrel racer. So there's the finals in the town that I live in next weekend. And I just get to go there and hang out with her all weekend for 4 days because I can.
Yeah. And everyone's like, why you work hard? I'm like, because I can.
Yeah.
It's just, that's what I noticed when I was in Colorado, and obviously we're getting down with time here, but that's one thing I noticed here with Colorado, where it's, everyone's like, yeah, you're up in the mountains on a Thursday, and my boss is like, oh, you're gonna have a day off with no pay. I'm like, I don't give a fuck, buddy. It's like, I'm gonna be in the mountains, write me up all you want, because I really don't care. And nicely, and they're like, that's where I move people. I'm like, here I'm on a Thursday afternoon up in the continental divide moving people. And then all of a sudden the light bulb went off. It's like, now this is the fucking freedom I want.
Yeah. Well, and then just being able to, like, you've made that connection, right? Where it's like, you know what, you understand that this is the job that you need to have. And I did that too. Like I stayed in banking for a full year. And I was just like, you know what, I know that this is what I need to do. I mean, the world doesn't stop when you decide to start a business. And it was that work ethic and the drive to eventually want to do it full time. And it'll come. It's just putting in the time, putting in the work, which is obviously it's Saturday morning.
All right. Well, I'm going to wrap her up because obviously you got a gift coming here in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So tell everyone where we can find you.
Yeah, so I'm reworking my website right now. So depending on when this goes live, it's just GinaTalarico.com. Probably within about a week, I'll have that relaunched. You can take a look for that. Or, I mean, Instagram is definitely where I hang out the most. So just at Gina Talarico. I have a Facebook group as well, but you'll be able to find all of that through my Instagram.
All right, no problem. You have fun. Obviously, my gift's coming in 3 minutes. Your gift's coming in 3 minutes. So enjoy it. Don't chase the boys too much.
I wouldn't do anything you wouldn't do.
You don't want to know.
All right. Well, thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
All right. No problem. You have a good one. See ya.
Yeah, you too.